Thank you very much. It's crazy. You have another word for your crowd over there just in front of you.
I mean, I want to thank to every fan that came here watching us, and even if you're not here but watching, I want to say thanks to everyone. It's biggest support ever.
Thank you.
Leon, one more time, please show your appreciation for Queasy's with the Masters! We are heading to a break. We'll be back with game number 5.
Welcome back, Fortnite fans, to the Global Championships. My name is Zeke. Joining us here on the analyst desk, we've got Mini Miner, we've got 11-2K, and man, oh man, did we just have another game won by Queasy. The three back-to-back-to-back.
Zeke, you know what's happening right now?
What's
I
happening?
don't think you know what's happening right now.
Tell me.
The last time Queasy played a major final and won 3 games in a row,
He won
6 out of 12.
Oh!
He went on to win the next 2 games after that. He won 5 games in a row back in Chapter 4, Season 2 when he was playing with Veno. These guys don't look like they're slowing down anytime sooner. Our EU savior. Our EU savior, Queasy. Thank you. We might finally get one. Oh my goodness.
It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. They're playing perfect end games right now, perfect height, just Queasy playstyle personified seeing them play right now. And, you know, we mentioned that 6 out of 12, right? They played a very similar style of play, that high ground, but I think they sort of they were a little bit adjusted this time. I think in that time, when they were playing for that 6 out of 12, when they won 6 out of 12, they were doing very, very well at retaking height with Bennett, right? This time, they're taking it a lot earlier. We can see it right here, just building up really high and taking it early as the 8th zone here.
One thing I really loved, right, is, you know, Frankie was asking Queasy about the timing of when they take height, and, you know, a lot of the time he's received criticism in games and maybe people perceive them to take it too early, and he said it's never too early to take height, right? I know what I'm doing, and I mean, at this point you just have to trust the guy. My mind is blown. 3 wins back-to-back on land.
Wow.
Like, I don't think people are really clocking how insane this is right now.
This feels almost like a major tournament, right? It feels like I'm going back, but then we remind ourselves, this is a global championship stage. These are some of the best trios from around the world, and he's making this look like it's just a normal, everyday game for him.
I mean, they're taking it early, but the way that they actually hold onto it is so, so good. When there's people crash panning up onto height, they don't panic. A lot of teams that are new to height, maybe don't play it so well, they will panic. They'll struggle. They won't deal with it as well, and you can see it right here. Vanya tried to take it right there at the end to try and take over the game, but they were calm, they were cool, they were collected. You even saw it in the interview there at the end. Queasy's just won 3 games out of 4 on land, and he's like, yeah, we're just going to keep trying to play our game. Like, he's so chill. I don't know how he's doing it. We saw Kanata jumping around after the first game. I like that from the IGL, though. It's what you need.
Look at the numbers here, man.
Wow.
Before this game, I'd be curious to see what the updated stats are, but I was looking at the numbers before this game. Swizzy was leading damage, right? He had about 6,600 damage. The next person, second place, had like 3,000.
Wow.
Right? So he was already leading damage by double the second place. I can only imagine now it's even more. It might be triple at this point. These guys are going crazy. They're playing the best Fortnite of their lives at the perfect time.
It's so crazy to just think about, like, how this team is looking to attack any problem that is coming up. And I gotta say, this last game, end game, was actually kind of crazy, right? It's like M8 versus M8, and you kind of don't know who to root for in that situation. M8's just like, ah! You know? But to see Vanya make it to this end game and kind of fight it out here in the final few moments of the game, props to both sides. And still, right, maybe they didn't get the victory out, but they still play second. That's so much in terms of placement.
Yeah,
these guys are unbelievable, right? But these guys are doing a great job of staying in this competition, fighting in this competition. You know, early on, maybe a bit more quieter, but they're starting to show us their prowess. I think the great thing about them as well is that we've seen them at times this year struggle when they try to go for height and it doesn't work out for them. In this game, you know, they tried to take it, didn't work out, but they still make a good game out of it.
Yeah, and that's absolutely crucial. It's Marius, it's the fraggers that are doing a very good job. Of course, Pixie went down a little bit earlier here, so Vanya had to do a really good job, but I'm really impressed with how Marius is handling the pressure right here. Of course, there's been a lot of eyes on him over the last couple of years. Is he this sort of big fragger that everyone knows him for? Yes, proving it on the big stage, and it's, of course, a big moment for him being on LAN as well. So lots of questions going into this. They're answering it so far. The problem is, Queasy's just doing so well that they're struggling to catch up, but it's a really nice game, so they're moving up in the stand.
Let's take a little peek at the second page, though, right? Let's just kind of roll things down. How are things looking, right? We see Agers, Hoyo, and Acorn. What's crazy is I kind of didn't expect to see them this high up in the leaderboard, right? They're kind of lurking in the shadows. We haven't quite seen them have the game we're like used to seeing on NA, but we still have 2 more games left to go on the day, so maybe they can piece something together.
A good time to try get some momentum. I feel like at competitions like these, when you start slow, you almost are out of sight, out of mind, right? These guys now, if they can sort of creep their way back in towards that sort of top 8 range going into tomorrow, they're still going to be, maybe not a good shot for contention if Queasy keeps playing like this, but they're still going to end up, you know, put themselves in a position to end up way up there in the leaderboard by the end of game 12.
Yeah, and they have the firepower, right? We talked so much about their drop spot at the beginning of the show, how powerful that really is. Of course, the team as a whole, the way that they can play, we know how well they can play end games as well. So all it takes is just 1 or 2 things to go their way. We all know about how good Hoyo is when it comes to those end game clutch situations as well. And I think maybe a little bit of the pressure aspect was coming into it, you know, walking out in front of this massive crowd, chanting your names. It can be difficult and it can be really, really tough to adjust.
And I'm telling you, man, well, we'll save that for later. You heard that bus horn. It is time to get back into game with only 2 games left to go. How do we position ourselves for day number 2? It is time for game number 5 on the day right now.
Only 2 games left on the day. You heard Zeke say it himself. And that just means time flies when you're having fun. One of the best events I've ever been a part of in person. And honestly, it hasn't disappointed so far. Queasy just lighting things up, back-to-back wins. And honestly, these contested fights have been telling a lot of how the game goes.
And we're finally going to get a taste, too, of some different scenes here at Kappa Kappa Factory. Seti, Panzer, Yapko, they've been putting on quite the performance today, Jacob, but it starts with this off-spawn battle. If Panzer, Seti, and Yapko can convert another successful off-spawn here, Kazi and Aspect, Tinka, they could be in a world of trouble, but it's Marius, it's Peterbot, both of them are not, but Pixie, he's got the better end of this deal. Vanya's still lurking overhead, Cole trying to see if he can recover anything from this situation, but it's not gonna come to fruition just yet. In fact, Pixie, he's gonna even be able to play for the revive. Vanya Boo Boo not willing to chase down Cole just yet, but maybe after using some of these small shield potions, to feel a little bit more comfortable with that battle.
Insane scenes hit us yet again in Game 5. And it's just leaving Cold in such a tough spot. But I see it in the feed. Was that Paper? Was that Victor V? Was that Epic Whale? All going down at Dystopia. Meanwhile, Vanya, Marius, and Pixie, they have literally no time. They can do whatever they want. They have the reboot card, one on one side of the mountain, Peter's on the other side of the mountain, and they haven't even looted up their POI, which means they're going to spend so much time at the OXR HQ, which means it's going to take a risk in order to get Peterbot and Ritual back in the game.
Something that also occurred quite quickly here, Seti. 3 eliminations, by the way. We didn't get to see exactly where it happened, but we know that they've been having a lot of success here at the Kappa Kappa Factory, and there's more trouble still stewing. A look back into Rangers Ruin. We know so much about this Ospawn battle, and Chino opening up big time, but Chicho thought he was going to be able to 180 that occurrence. Still, Tayson from behind manages to knock Chino, but this is just messy right now. Still, the big day holding it down. Pablo, though, still trying to see if he can punch his ticket in this lobby, and he holds it for his team.
A big win in that 1v1 against Tayson, but the team that has been putting on a show since Game 2, in Game 3, and in that last one as well, back-to-back wins, and you can see their first team to win 3 consecutive games at an FNCS LAN, and that's putting them so far ahead of everybody else. So even if they find themselves in a position where they're not winning the game, still top 8s, top 5, that's still going to keep their lead intact.
But the conversation that I have to open up here, Jacob, is when we think about last year's Global Championship even, Queasy and Thomas HD were in this exact position as everybody else in the lobby. They were staring at that leaderboard. They were staring at Peterbot and Pollo running away with it. And then day 2 came to play. And Queasy manifested a huge performance to play so much catch-up. So while it might look very, I don't say impossible, but unlikely, I still think that there's opportunity for somebody else to try and play catch-up. But day 1 definitely seems like the momentum is riding high for Queasy's team.
Everybody else below Queasy on that leaderboard just has to keep it respectively close and regroup for tomorrow. Chino, Pablo, Prodoxy, even though they win that fight, one team has already moved over, and you can see in the minimap another team, King Phaser and PH Sin, they're trying to make their presence known. Madim Buriuriru and Wixie are there as well. These are our 3 teams from 3 different regions trying to lurk and make Rangers Ruin their home, as Wixie's gonna get to 3-2-1, and he instantly goes down. Brazil strikes quick.
0 chance to even try and close that wall off, and that is a painful way to go out, but King Phaser fully on the come up here. Gino, Prodoxy, Pablo, they can hear those shots nearby. They know that there is another party rolling into the vicinity. Still, they're locked down. Mirim, Buiriru, 2s in a sea of 3s, and this is not the spot to be, but they don't really have a chance to get out just yet. They need Gino, Prodoxy, and Pablo to fight against Phaser, King, and PH Sin to see if they can maybe slip away.
So the Queen just going ahead and blasting onto some of these boxes. Seeing it, giving away the position just a little bit. King, Phaser, they know they're there on the other side, but they don't know exactly where they're located at, which means PHN is just trying to get some high ground, some elevation, that eagle eye view so he can look over the land and figure out where everybody's at, taking their time. And these are the type of fights right here with people lurking around, crouching to hide those audio visuals. If you make the wrong play, it's a huge risk for that little reward.
But the material just favors so heavily into Brazil's hands. Chino, Pablo, and Frodoxy, because of that early off-spawn battle with Tayson, they haven't actually had a chance to really farm anything up in comparison to King, Phaser, and PHN, who are just now stealing away this queen currently at Rangers Ruin. Frodoxy realizing we can't just let this go for free. They try to see if they can intervene, but it's just not an option that's afforded to them just yet because Marin Buyuriru still lurking nearby. It's not a favorable option, and they know it's likely best to potentially disengage.
Yeah, and you can see it because they have control of the high ground and the whole outside. They're starting to target down that queen. As you see in the feed, the cleanup is complete. Hold goes down, and another 0-point game for what was looking like the most dominant team coming into this event. A huge wake-up call as they're in 30th place, but for Vanya, Pixie, and Marius, that's just one step closer to that first place spot.
And for Vanya, Pixie, and Marius, they don't want to lose sight of the primary objective, and that is just to keep securing the strong end game placements. Every little bit counts if you're looking to try and play catch up to Queasy at this point. And Jap, Reason, Mr. Savage, another team where there's been so much praise on Chap's shoulders, and for good reason. You could even argue that if it weren't for Chap, Mr. Savage and Reason might not even be at the Global Championship right now. But the Major 3 performance, that's something that we're still waiting for Chat to just have that highlight game.
That's a really good point because Mr. Savage was done. Mr. Savage said, I retired. It was great playing Fortnite, but I think it's time for the next step in his journey. Well, the next step was coming out of retirement, qualifying by such mere points. It was destined to happen to see him here and playing as extraordinarily well as they have been so far. Malibuca, Walks, and Pings, you can see them set up just outside the outpost enclave, just trying to trade off shots into the distance. And against Poyo, Agers, and Acorn. And honestly, I think this was the difference maker. We saw both of these teams before slightly weather, one more than others, but I think it's because of exactly this. They're now trading off shots for Storm Surge versus the rest of the lobby, and it's given them a little bit more flexibility in different cases.
Whoa, 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 Pico though, Parades, where are you at? This is the wrong neighborhood. And Benno, Pico, Flixie, now with 3 eliminations in total, Jacob. This is much more room to work with than what they've been afforded, and especially considering...
Going to be easy for anybody, but if you can find a way, come out and have games like this and really make them count, like we kind of saw between Tayson and Frodoxy to start the day in games 1 and 2. Just got to be able to keep that momentum up. Phaser, King, PHN rotating around. I thought I saw, yes, I was about to say, I thought I saw somebody moving on over towards that bunker, and it is going to be our team from Brazil, King, Phaser, and PHN. That means that that play they made to rotate on over to Rangers Ruin, not only third party and get the eliminations, but eventually take down the Queen, works out perfectly.
Every single Globals, there's always that one surprise pop-out wild card from the international scene, and I think, at least for day 1, King, Phaser, and PHN have definitely taken that position in representing what these teams from the global presence are able to provide. And this is looking like a very sound setup. They've done a great job at essentially infiltrating that Rangers Ruin third-party action. And it's caused such a dominoes effect across the map. It changes so much of how the game is played when Frodoxy, Pablo, and Chino aren't able to just conveniently take their third-party options and all those surprise pop-up performances, finding those eliminations, intercepting teams on their loop path rotates.
I like this play me out. Curly, Reed, and Cooper, they haven't had the best luck finding teams to trade shots off with the distance, and now they have to do something different, go box to box, play a little bit more aggressive. Curly's doing just that, forcing Sod out, but they trade shots. Luckily for him, his teammates are there to save the day. Curly gets the elimination. Siphon is what he needed most in that moment, and now they get the loot. You see the extra splashes and that full load up that they're kind of able to change things in and out. And it's a confidence boost for a team that honestly, listening to them talk yesterday, they didn't think they had their game plan anymore from what they practiced coming into the Global Championship. They had to pull something up from underneath their sleeve, and well, that's one way to do it.
Not the only magician working in this lobby. Veno just a little bit of a heist here onto Hero. Tries to take that launch pad instead of punish for it, and Pico following up. This is exactly why you don't want to give Veno any space, because the way that they're trying to control that mountain rage now, it's forcing teams to funnel through in a way that makes it so easy for them to find those knocks and eliminations, or just surge in general.
Yeah, or at least at the bare minimum, get them to waste a lot of materials rotating on over into a spot where you might not be able to get much. Pixstorm, Demus, you see kind of a smooth rotation. Not too many players near them yet in the distance either, so they can focus on one thing and one thing only, getting to where they need to be. As we take a look at Rapid, Kanata, and Bolts, they started the day off with a big win. I think it was around like 101, maybe 104 points. Since then, it's been anything but perfect, but this is the real test, especially for somebody like Kanata, where I was talking about how different he looked coming into this event. Now we get to see what are you truly made of.
But they're still within striking range, a top 3 within day 3. They haven't had, you know, the craziest day ever after, especially after what we witnessed in Game 1. We're definitely maybe looking for Kanata, Rapid Bolts to keep seeing how consistent they could be, but until they find a way to replicate that Game 1 performance, things are going to continue to get more and more difficult as everybody starts to find a better grasp, a better idea of where they want to go, to try and find any little bit of placement points to put them inside of a better position for day 1 closure.
Again, I talked about Acorn, Poyo A, just going back to what has worked best coming into the Global Championship. That's kind of setting up one of those bases. You have an abundance of heals that the Demons debris. You just got to figure out a way to utilize them. It's like Clicks, Higgs, and Iamzo rotating south from Supernova Academy. They were one of those teams kind of looking off into the distance, whether it was Savage, we saw moments there, Sod and Ryu up towards the top. They have multiple targets that they try to use early game to build that Storm Surge and kind of give flexibility for rotations just like this.
I think it was very smart, though, the way they were utilizing that natural map terrain, hugging towards that lower territory so they don't get spotted out from those teams that are in those high ground positions. They're just fully covered by those cliff faces, but looking into what our leading contenders are getting up to, Mustache, 0 shotgun damage. And my favorite part about this morning, Jacob happened to encounter Queasy, and he made it known, we're not gonna carry shotguns. We are running ARs, we are running the record revolvers. And you know what? With what they're doing, with the way that they're playing height, they're not giving anybody the luxury or the option to even try and challenge them on height. They don't have to do anything up close and personal, because if it does come down to that, they still got those record revolvers to work with, which is basically just a pistol shotgun in the first place.
How do you win back-to-back games with 0 shotgun damage? I am blown away, but that's a testament of how good they are actually playing, and the consistency is out of this world. To jump on over Kadu, Striker, and Tisco. They were so close. They had the high ground in some of our previous games, but now they need to fight out of this mess. Prodoxy, Pablo, and Chino, they're the ones on the other side. They're the ones that are putting down that pressure and not really backing down. You see the triple weapon loadout for multiple of these players as well. They're ready to fight, and they're ready to fight big.
But Chino and Pablo, they're really looking like they're starting to find their rhythm in this lobby. They love just getting so fraggy with it. It's going to be a little bit of a hold, though, by Striker, Kadu, and Tisco, while Prodoxy takes this opportunity to heal back up. A little bit too pinched there, but Chino, he just keeps battering away at Kadu, Striker, and Tisco, and that knock now means a separate approach. Prodoxy on the flank, Chino and Pablo on the front side, and Striker doing what he can to try and hold things down, but the walls are just so difficult to break through. He's hoping to find some form of an edit, some kind of right side peek. Striker, though, no shield. Pablo, Chino, Prodoxy, they are fully in control of this. That is until Pablo realizes it's Curly, it's Cooper, it's Reed right behind them. He doesn't have any options. They've just got to reconvene with each other.
For Reed, Cooper, and Curly, there's no time like the present, and they're really trying to make these little seconds count. able to clean up that one elimination, the extra loot, but most importantly, the Storm Surge that they're able to get. And since they're the team on the outside of this overall battle, they have the option if they want to disengage or keep putting pressure in this scenario. Prodoxy and Chino, they have no other choice with or without that reboot card to try to get out and save what they have of this game. We kept talking about between them and Tayson off spawn, battling it out. You have to make sure if you win these games off spawn, you go as far into the end game with as many eliminations as possible.
For Prodoxy and Chino, that maneuver by Curlin Cooper, it's like getting an eyelash stuck in your eye. Just so annoying, but what can you do? Just the nature of the game here. All the while, Clicks, Higgs, Yamto, they've caught up now to Snowy, Sad, and Ryu, and they've got them on the ropes right now, but Ryu's still looking to fight back. All of these international teams, they have not backed down even once throughout today's matches, Jacob, and they are coming with some big firepower. But Yamzo, the future, he's got to control the present right now, though. And with Clicks and Higgs right next to him, they need to find these eliminations. All of the surge would just be so impactful.
Yeah, you can see both of these teams in a relatively tough spot, forced to crouch down if they're on the low ground. But Sad, Ryu, Snowy, they're trying to go for alert surprise attack. They're getting into the box in two different directions, but the third party is in, and they run out of material. Sad is in a tough spot, and it's going to continue to get tougher. Multiple players on that trio are out of materials overall, and Yamso finally dropping down. He's bringing the sun to a snowy day.
That's exactly what they needed. This is so much room to work with now. The Yamto Clicks, they just continue to close in, and finally Ryu's gonna be eliminated, folded over. Almost 1900 damage above on that surge threshold, Jacob. Perfect placement for these guys to be now. Can they convert it to the end game win that they've been seeking all day long?
Yeah, and you can see just like that with those eliminations, they move up into a top 5 spot on the leaderboard. One more elimination away from top 4. One more elimination away from that, from a top 3 at the Global Championship. This is only game number 5, though. There's going to be 7 more games. 1 more today, 6 more tomorrow before we crown our best in the world at the Fortnite Global Championship. And this could be one of them. Savage, Chap, and Reason. I was talking about Destiny. We just got to figure out if it's theirs.
And Mr. Savage, a couple of medkits to boot. Chap, Reason. They've also got the geysers just in case they need that quick stimmy of HP 30 shot. But Yuma, Rise, Koyota, a little bit of a hiccup at the starting point. Still managing to try and make it work. But Jacob, all of these teams, there's like a certain level of paranoia that starts to enter the closer and closer that everyone becomes, especially because we just know the high ground is where nobody has been able to really look towards. And yet, one more time, we're seeing a zone pull right towards Foxy Floodgate. And I almost have to, I just want to know, where is Queasy at? Because he's got to be close by.
If I'm any person in this lobby, but Queasy, of course, I'm saying please pull north. Get away from these mountain ranges. Get away from that dip in Foxy Floodgate. And if you're a team that's realizing what's happening in this game, a very, very similar zone towards last game, you got to start to look at your materials. Do we have enough? If not, how are we going to get it? Some would say maybe a refresh, farming where you can if you're on the slow side of zone, but sometimes things like that aren't always possible. And you can see Pixdar and Demas in that exact situation. Even though they're 356 above the damage threshold, you're seeing the side that they have to rotate in, Taco, stacked like pancakes.
It's just so impressive to think that this is a team, this is their first land, and they're not playing anything like it. But Mr. Savage, Chap, they've now got to see if they can pull together here. Reason with the double revive, they bring him back up into the mix, but they still have such an uphill battle to tackle here because they're so far behind. And look at all these teams that are piled into the zone just in front of them. That edge is going to be tough to break into.
Yeah, and that's why you see Sphinx and them trying to be the trolls underneath the bridge, a little bit of a safer rotation, talk about natural elements to try to use and crowd some of these shots. At 488, drastically below, almost need 3 straight eliminations. Savage is looking, but he's finding nothing but the lobby. Back they go, and a huge boost right there for Muzz, Shadow, and Sphinx, because they are relatively high up above, but it's the loot. You can see half of the fizz gone, half of the splash is gone, so that was a must.
I think the bigger relief, though, for Muzz, Shadow, and Sphinx is that they know with Mr. Savage's team having been wiped, there's nobody behind them. So now they can push forward and just control that more uncontested area of the zone. Still need to be wary though. Are catching glimpses of Kanata, Bolt, and Rapid in the distance. And of course, Swizzy, Queasy, and Merstache steadily starting to scale their way up towards an elevated position, but there's several other teams nearby that have the same intentions.
Yeah, if you guys see multiple teams in the distance, that Thunderbolt striking down, that Storm Surge, even though Swizzy, Queasy, Merstache don't exactly know those teams are below it, they will hear the shields crack. King's gonna go down, but Poyo is the one that's potentially stealing away those points. And maybe even the loot as it fully gets cleaned up. Swizzy, Queasy, Merstache put the full target down on a PH in. He's just trying to get some of that loot from his fallen comrade.
Do Swizzy and Merstache ever miss?
No.
The answer's gotta be no. Okay, PH in, eliminated. Merstache with another one. But that's actually gonna be the first one of this lobby. They've just been collecting so many eliminations throughout today's lobbies, Jacob. It's almost crazy to think that that's their first, but Queasy could be in trouble. Does manage to break away from where Bolt, Rapid, and Kanata are at, but Kanata, you know that he's scheming inside of this middle section. He wants to maybe try and set up for a impacting where Bolt and Kanata
Down.
might end
They broke
up.
down.
Fortunately for them, Zone
They tried to break down.
away from those mountain faces, so as a duo they can still look to break through the low ground, but Queasy, Merstache,
Good thing if you open a check, you could get.
going absolutely ballistic in this audience right now, and for good reason. Merstache said it, we're just gonna keep winning, and they've got 3 already at the international level, Jacob. A land historic event, and they're still looking to see if they can get more.
We are literally watching the Queasy legacy in the making. Levin said it himself. The last time Queasy won 3 games in a row, he went on not only to win that major, but win 6 out of 12 games. Something that has never been done on that region of EU ever before and ever again. And this could be that moment in history that you look back at when you talk about how great Queasy actually is. It is all because of this, but there's still so many threats in their path. They just have to look up. They have to try to go for high ground and stop the plate trade. Clicks, Higgs, and Yamzo, they have been known to do it on NA Central. They just have to figure out how to do it here on the international stage.
And they might have to deal with Pars, Baka, and Pump along the way. Yapko, Seti, Panzer, they've also done a rather excellent job at just maintaining consistent performances, and they're looking for yet another repeat here, trying to clear some space in that secondary height, but they know if they want their odds to turn this into a victory royale, they're gonna need more than just secondary height. Pump falls to Clicks. This is big time for Xset because they need to pop off here.
Yeah, they truly are looking elite as a trio and taking the front side of the zone, something Yamzo knows to do best, but they have to be careful. Marius, Vanya, and Pixie, they're bouncing around with those crash pads, instantly climbing up that mountain, and that just means better positioning right away, and that gives them that luxury to look back, see all these other players rotate through. He's peeking through the stair, he sees Acorn, Aders, and Poyo, but it's not ready to go for it just yet, and nobody has even had an opportunity to look up. They're attached at the backside of zone. They're attached right in the middle. It's not even going to be easy when somebody eventually does.
But that's the problem. Nobody else can actually make their way up towards the high ground because Sweezy, Queasy, and Merstache refuse to budge. They just keep shutting down every single opportunity, forcing these teams to converge onto each other as iDrop now trying to see if he can collect an elimination there. A knock, anything. He needs a massive refresh here, but it's Pixie who finds Hottie, Marius, Pixie, and Vanya now looking to see what more they can seek out.
4 eliminations so far into the top 12. Placement points are flying in. Half of them, at least at the top 8, is Veno, Vico. They're in that line of path. Marius looking up for only a quick second. Not really focusing on the Queasy up above. It's probably too hard. You see the materials being drained right out of their inventory. Everybody else feeling the same thing. Forcing Yamzo, Higgs, and Clicks to drop down low. The blessing is they're in the front side of zone, so they have a little bit more to work with.
But the control from Queasy, Swizzy, and Mustache on the high ground, Jacob, they're forcing all of these teams to swap layers to ultimate low. And with that in mind, Mustache, Queasy, Swizzy, just non-stop berating. These teams are forced. They're looking up, they're looking down. They're trying to find refreshes, but they have no breathing room. They are being suffocated right now by height.
With the conversations going on before the Global Championship, Fu probably smiling ear to ear right now with EU doing the performance that they are, but Kanata Bolts, they're trying to channel how they played in game number 1, finds a key elimination on the Reed, not just elimination points, but placements as well. Cammy falls, more points from the lobby. Swizzy's trying to drop down low, he's just getting loot, he's bringing it back up to his IGL.
And that is all Swizzy has to keep tabs on alongside Mustache. Everything getting dropped at Queasy's feet so he can have the ultimate success here. But Marius, he's in too much trouble. Marius trying to squeeze away. It's Vico, it's Veno, and Flixie chasing them down. They know that they're going to have to clear out all of these players inside of these lower layers if they want a real shot at beating Queasy up on height.
Yeah, if there's any team that I think has a chance to look up and at least give them a fight, it is going to be them, as Marius is forced outside of the zone. Almost a 1v1 against Clicks, and Clicks gets the knock. Can he get the elimination? No, he can't. No siphon for him, but the battle, the inevitability is finally here. Vico's taking charge, but he's also taking most of that damage. Flixie's forced to reload. Veno is in that mid-cut as well. A challenge that they did not find success on, but relatively so. Even if they might not have the high ground, they put Queasy and Mustache on the back foot.
And that's the problem, Queasy, Mustache. They could still tank a little bit of zone here just because of that exotic fizz, but at the same time, Vico, Veno, Flixie, they're now trying to remind everybody this might be it's Queasy's tourney so far, but we still want to take the from that. Mustache finding the biggest elimination of the Veno, the siphon carrying him forward. The hopes of Gentleman now resting on his shoulders. Flixie trying to hang, but Flixie wins it all, shutting down the dream. You better.
We talked about the 6 of 12. It was with that man right there, Veno, with Vico and Flixie by his side. They are looking like a terror on the lobby. Frankie, we gotta hear what from them by themselves.
We need to hear what you have to say, Flixie. What's it like getting a victory royale here on LAN in Leon?
It's great. I mean, we died off spawn, we clutched the game. It's really good.
And yeah, you clutched the game. I mean, it was quite the competition between you and the leaders of the lobby. Were you aware it was Queasy you were up against?
I mean, we knew it was Queasy, but we're just better than them, so we just went up and killed them.
I think you might need to get a few more victory royales before you can say that. I do want to come to you, Veno, obviously up against an ex-teammate you know really well. Does that make it a bit more satisfying or even a little bit more in your head? You know each other so well.
Nah, if I can't win this tourney, I want Queasy to win.
Oh, I've never heard him say such nice things. Thank you, Veno. And of course, Choca, à toi pour Vico.
How do you feel after this first victory royale, and how will you do the second one?
Hey, I mean, I feel great, you know. We finally got a win that we wanted, you know. We're still calm though, but it's kind of hard. But hey, I mean, we're doing the best of it. Next round, you know, we're gonna win our spawn. We're gonna win the game again, you know. We're gonna catch up to Queasy finally and shit. So yeah.
Ils sont très déterminés à remonter dans ce classement et à continuer de monter. Ils adorent et surtout ils sont très confiants pour aller chercher une deuxième victoire.
Are you expecting to still be contested at Canyon Crossing?
I mean, we were expecting it because they were laying down Asia, but I think there's no point for them to contest because, I don't know, even if they're winning, they're not getting good games, so.
Well, we will see after this short break.
Welcome back, Fortnite fans, to the Global Championship. What could have ended in a crazy way results in Vico Flixie finding themselves a victory royale in game number 5. EU is truly on top right now. My gosh, I love the responses as well from the trio. Keeping it humble, keeping it honest. But for them, you know, especially now with one game to go, this is such a great way to go into that final game and kind of start setting up for day number 2.
Such perfect timing for these guys, right? Coming into the last game right now, winning game number 5. And in the manner at which they did it, Levin, it's very similar to what we've seen throughout this entire season, an entire sort of year from these guys. The way they play height, the way they try and retake it. Queasy did make it a little bit difficult for them. It wasn't absolutely straightforward, so they had to drop down. But, I mean, this is exactly what we expected from these guys this weekend. They're finally awoken.
I'm going to throw some shade to my brother Zeke.
No.
I'm sorry I have to do it to you, Zeke.
Don't do it.
Oh, no.
Zone 11, we're watching Flixie. He looks up to high. He's looking up. He's scouting it. Zeke goes, yeah, man, don't even bother looking at high, bro. Don't even bother looking at high.
Oh.
But again, we can't blame Zeke, right? He's been on NA for a year, right? Us EU watchers know when it's Flixie, Veno, Vico, a late height take. Zone 11 height takes, it's their specialty. Again, like you said, not executed as cleanly, but executed like they know well. And a really big game from them here. It's a great momentum boost and a great response like they were alluding to after going down on spawn in the previous game.
Yeah. Listen, I just wanted Queasy to win again. Okay, I wanted to see 6 in a row on land. Forgive me, Levin. I joined the EU crew. You know what? Maybe EU isn't on top. Going back to NA where I belong. Obviously, you know, still on the other side of that,
of course.
Easy, like if they had won that game, it would have been insane. The fact that they placed second, though, is still amazing, right? Like, you cannot deny. But of course, if they had won the game, it just would have been just the tiniest bit better. My gosh, Queasy, Merstash, Swizzy popping off here. 461 points, if I remember correctly. These guys are on fire, Mini. I don't know how we stop them.
I mean, honestly, they were set up for success this entire end game. They really did well to claim that high ground like we expected them to do going towards the zone. They had a nice favorable pull, of course, over to that hill. And then when Queasy actually built out into the zone, which I thought was a really nice play, if zone was to pull over that hill, it ended up pulling the other way. So they did, of course, have to invest a lot of materials, which is why they ended up going down a little bit earlier here. But, I mean, what a clutch here from Merstash. What could have been, Levin?
I mean, look, I low-key do wish we were in the alternate universe where he wins that. Because there is one, right? He's so close. It comes down to just the difference between a little bit of damage. Regardless of that, though, right? Still a fantastic game to help them keep their lead, keep momentum, right? Because the worst thing you can have in a situation like this, and, you know, speaking of Queasy when he won 6 out of 12, it almost sort of did happen where after they had won, like, the 6th game, you know, they're almost like, everything's won. We've won it, you know, they have a bit of a mediocre game, and, like, the momentum's lost, but it's fine. We've won the tournament. These guys haven't won the tournament yet. They need to keep that momentum. That's still a great game.
That's right, man. One game left to go before we say goodbye for the first half of the day of the competition. You heard that sound. The battle bus is ready. Let's get into it.
One last ride on the battle bus to score things out for day 1 here of the FNCS 2025 Global Championship. And Leon has been absolutely electric through all of it. Massive shout outs and love to the fans here in the crowd. But firstly, Jacob, we have to tackle the elephant in the room. It's what's been taking place between Fordoxy and Tayson since we last peeked in over at Kappa Kappa Factory in the previous lobby, but now we're back at home.
I was about to laugh to myself. You're talking about Fordoxy and Tayson. But what about the 50 other teams that end up over at Rangers Ruin throughout the course of the game?
That's what it feels like.
They realize how this fight goes, and typically it might be left to just one person trying to clutch up. As Fordoxy gets that first sweeper shotgun, it's going to work out perfectly. Chicho goes down. Tayson follows next. That's back-to-back eliminations, but Chino's going to go down. That's going to give them an opportunity back, and if you notice, Fordoxy has no more ammo in his shotgun, and Riz is trying to take advantage of that fact. He finally picks up a few, but the damage has already been done. Riz with only 3 HP, and Pablo and Fordoxy on the other side are at least a duo, a strong duo at that, and they have a chance here to end the fight, and they do so with ease.
I want to believe, but when when Pablo is just that healthy, the outcome is basically inevitable. Prodoxy, Chino, and Pablo Wingo will play out the duration of Lobby 6, and this time it was so fast that Brazil likely won't be able to stroll on over and try to play spoiler.
I mean, I did see in the feed, there was a team that was going in that direction. They saw the fight end in the feed. They said, you know what, maybe next game, maybe tomorrow we'll do this.
Let me hit the other way.
Yeah, but you see what's going down here right now. They actually chose to split the drop. Toyota, Yuma, and Rice are going to take the top side of Canyon. That comes with the swarm. That comes with a little bit of XP. But Vico, Flixie, and Veno, they're taking actual Canyons Crossing. There's a little bit more loot over here for them. And they said, hey, things haven't been going our way in the actual fight. Let's actually try to play some of these games out. And even last game, they did that exact thing, and it worked out. You saw them win that game.
There's still a leaderboard that teams want to play for prizing, Jacob. Even if it might not necessarily be a threat to first, or even the top 3 in general, it's still opportunity for life-changing money, right? And Epic Whale, Paper, Victor V, they're looking to tackle Razzle, Tete, and Raito. They had primary control of Dystopia City. They've pushed Raito's team towards the edge, but Epic Whale still needs to try and connect another shot here. He knows that Paper is gonna have that overhead sightseeing, and Razzle, not a whole lot of materials, but Paper just trying to stay on top of this fire, just trying to see if he can apply more pressure for Victor V to capitalize on.
Yeah, my eyes initially peeked at Shining Span where Cammy lands. I saw them, but now you saw Ritual in the distance as Vox, Ping, and Malabuka. They're taking the fight on over. That's Aspect's team, and Aspect was the one that was landing towards the Kappa Kappa factory. So you're already seeing they're changing up their game plan. They're trying to steal away some loot away from Malabuka and Wox, but that's not something you want to do at all.
And Malabuka, Wox being more than happy to try and collect whatever opportunities come their way. They're willing to try and generate these occurrences themselves, and they are just chasing these teams way out to the outskirts. This is a big commitment, but if they find the eliminations, it's all worth it.
I like what they're doing here. They're just trying to trust in each other for the most part. One's going to go on over, try to see if they can find him, which it doesn't look like they do. They immediately turn back. It's not worth it in their heads to go for it as Beaterbot finally makes his position known along with Ritual and Cold, and they immediately jump onto Paper. He was positioned on top of that with his building. Tagging that team down below, was not watching his back, and that's exactly what's going to do him in the end. You see Victor V looking like the only player left alive for his team. He's just trying to disengage and at least try to give him a chance to get back on up.
But it's the fact that Victor V is still left standing. Bit tragic. The Paper, Epic Whale, they just never saw it coming. The Crash Pad Fizz combination a little bit too potent here, and Paper punished for that overhead position and not keeping tabs of what's flying through the sky after him.
Honestly, depending on where the zone goes, it's going to help their chances or hurt them for Victor V, trying to get his entire team back into the game. We kind of saw more and more teams throughout the day kind of move over into this position, and that's going to remain the same. One all the way towards the north. Tisco and his trio, literally inside of Ranger's Ruin as well, but they're positioned above. And then Prodoxy, who obviously knows where that team's at, where they're positioned, and he's at least trying to shoot off shots in their direction with that Stinger SMG, so he knows it's not going to get a ton of damage, but anything's better than nothing.
And Prodoxy, Pablo, and Gino have just been playing whack-a-mole all day long. It's like the moment they take out one team, they still got to deal with another one popping up from seemingly nowhere, and Pablo still working through the lobby. Brice and Toyota going to be victims at the other end of that shotgun barrel, but Yuma still trying to do what he can to pick up the pieces here. It was a nice knock onto Gino. Unfortunately, the 1 versus 2 situation, that's just so hard to convert into a victory there. So they're going to be put down temporarily, but things are getting messy here in the south side.
Yeah, this is not where I expect Veno and Vico and Flixie to kind of end up, going all the way towards the south side of the map. That's given Alex and and Resigns an opportunity to get the early surge, steal away some of this loot. And you can see what Veno, he has really no other choice. He knows the full team is all around, and a third party closed off into the distance. even with 69 HP, he does have some extra shields, but he doesn't want to give away his position with those audio visuals. Alex finally found him out, and the full team is wiped off from Victory Royale to 30th place.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter where Venno tries to go after that. Alex resigns and Anon. We're never going to let them leave this vicinity. It's just way too primed up of a chance, and they're not going to come by often, but still, Alex resigns. Got to keep open eyes on the map because Mixin and Focus, they might just have a chance to shut down everything that Alex just worked to accomplish. But Alex spots him out through the window, and Alex not going to be able to get that shot just yet, but still, the damage has been done. Focus, Mixin, they're bailing.
Yeah, and they're only a duo. That's basically giving away your position for Alex and Anna Resign to make that decision. Do we fight it? Do we beat him on towards the mountain priority position? What's more important here? And I honestly like their decision to close out the day, play a little bit more aggressive, try to get more points, and already they get the knock onto Focus. Now they're in a 3v1 situation, and they already spot and mix it on the other side. He tries to go for the 1v1, the 50-50, and it's so quick. Alex, Resign, and Anand, they get their 4th elimination of the game.
And look, the leaderboard might be telling one story, but the real narrative is that Oshi's got some real fighting power with Alex, Resigns, and Anon. And it's unfortunate that they just haven't had anybody to really get their surge in, so it's just been so difficult for them to actually traverse every single one of their rotates, if they even make it off of their initial drop in the first place. But it's been a completely different story, as we all know, for Swizzy, Queasy, and Merstash. They have been titans of this lobby, and even with Merstash being knocked, no problem whatsoever, because they're not going to be keyed anytime soon. It's just not worth the effort from the team that they're trading blows with. They know it's way too dangerous to actually make that trek.
And it's almost kind of like having me ask myself the question in my head for Vortex, Goofy, and Mountain. When do you stop targeting Queasy and his entire trio on the other side? Because even though that's helping them get some Storm Surge, it's helping Queasy, Merstash, and Swizzy a lot more, and they're bringing it much further on into the game. In the feed, Arc taking down one of the members of OCE Power's team, Peterbot, Ritual, and Cold. Because of their early aggression, they're able to get the Queen out of Dystopia City and immediately make their way on over towards that vault, where they're not only able to have that mythic AR, but they have the exotic as well.
And while we are seeing some mild forms of success currently for Peterbot, Ritual, and Cold, the big thing to keep in mind here, Jacob, is that for a lot of these international teams and just other teams in the lobby in general, it can be very difficult to really find an opening. And you know, you're talking about Goofy and Mountain and what they're capable of, and is this even worth taking the battle? But if they're in a pick your poison situation, they're so far northwest, their only options are Muzz, Mr. Savage, or Queasy. And they just keep landing on Queasy every time, while King and Phaser try to recover this battle up against Chino, Pablo, and Prodoxy.
Ooh, almost landed that good shot, but King, honestly, watching him throughout the season, when it comes to this double pump, it packs so much of a punch. He has Prodoxy and Chino on the slivers of HP, but unfortunately, the bait and switch comes through yet again. Pablo, knowing his teammates are weak, takes charge, gets that elimination onto King, leaving Phaser by himself. But it's so early on in the game, Taco. 3rd zone, 1 tick. Even though he has only 1 med kit, I'm not too worried because they're going to have to rotate out of that position.
Look, we know that King is good at fighting, but in this lobby right now, Pablo has just been better with everyone that he stumbled across, and that kind of performance can carry them a long way. It's starting to feel a little reminiscent, Jacob, of that early performance that they had to start this day off. 85 points secured in 1 lobby. And who's to say that they couldn't do it again?
Yep, you can see Zeddy, Epco, and Panzer have taken the most storm damage of all teams. With the way some of these games have been going, not too surprised. Zone moving towards the north in a couple of games, all the way towards the west. They land at Kappa Kappa. They have a contested fight, and then so many other teams along the way, they almost have no other choice, especially since this has been a huge part of their strategy when it comes to these surge bases, and they have that abundance of extra HP, so it's no worries.
But the conversation that's been building between the SETI-Cammy breakup, and we're looking at both of these separate trios having so much consistent success that they are both within our top 5 here in day 1. There's a real chance for SETI and Cammy to try and see, you know, who is really the problem. And right now, based off their performances, Jacob, I don't think either of them were. I think they were both just ready for a switch up.
I know when we talk about like some teams just forming, you know how they sometimes hit that honeymoon phase? What a perfect time for them to hit that phase and keep that consistency going. Coming together, qualifying in Major 3, and really taking that opportunity, just that chance to play at the Global Championship and running away with it. Same with Vanya, Marius, and Pixie. They get their drop spot uncontested. And honestly, whether it's contested or not, we saw Cold and his trio try to go ahead and make that their home, but that was quick work for them off that 50-50 drop off the side of the mountain, where you're seeing a lot of our top teams here, how they're rotating with the zone pulling towards the south. A lot of them are beating other teams to the punch. They're not taking that crowded position in towards the zone.
But this is really nice for Clix, Higgs, and Yamza as they continue to press forward because they're approaching that mountain range overhead of Foxy Floodgates. They're coming from that north side position, pushing south. They're going to have that little bit of elevation to work with, and we've even got a nice little listening to see what Clix is getting up to.
They're in streaming.
Yeah, look at them.
We
Look
should
at this.
shoot.
3, 2, 1. 30.
Nice.
Go. Let's go. Let's crash, please.
No. We full grease them.
I like it, I like it, I like it. They got the damage. And Higgs, for a moment, was like, hey, let's go. Let's pick up the elimination. Let's go and go for more. But they realized they're at the top side of the leaderboard. They don't have to take any unnecessary risk to close out the day. This is game 6 out of 12. So we got 6 more games tomorrow. And so honestly, for a lot of these teams, you just want to get as close to Queasy, Murstache, and Swizzy as possible so we have a chance tomorrow.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned Queasy, Swizzy, and Murstache, Jacob, because while they're here tackling Brazil, PH, Zen, Phaser already knocked. That's going to be the eliminations there. Excuse me, that's going to be King instead. But Jacob, so much damage having been done there. And Queasy now on the back foot. He's actually going to have to depend on Murstache and Swizzy to close this one out because Chino, Ferdoxy, Pablo, they've now entered this battlefield. And Ferdoxy, he doesn't seem interested in leaving anytime soon.
This is a blessing. This is a blessing for the entirety of the lobby, not just for Doxy, Pablo, and Chino here in this situation. You take them down, and I like taking matters into your own hands because 4th place, 1st place, 1st place, 1st place, 2nd place for Queasy and them at the top of the leaderboard. You cannot expect them to go down early. Sometimes you have to do things yourself. Phaser might not even know that there's a whole trio up above, but he might not have the HP. Storm Sickness is a possibility. He might have no other choice but to move into this trio.
It's just witnessing what Ferdoxy, Pablo, and Chino are able to accomplish.